Hi, I'm Joy Amali and today I'll be looking at China's digital transformation. The case study I'll be using is by the McKinsey Global Institute. The research examines 6 representative sectors of China's economy and analyses the transformations that are taking place within them as new internet applications take hold. It finds that these innovations will not only generate productivity gains but also lead to the creation of entirely new markets for digital goods and services. I chose to look at this specific case study as it gives a good insight into China's internet use in comparison to other countries and examines the internet's impact on China's economy on a global scale. The case study is a key study in showing that the internet has a huge impact on productivity and economic growth. While the internet is already generating enormous economic value in China, to illustrate the transformation taking place across the economy, this research analyses sectors that represent a mix of industry and services and of corporate and semi-public sectors. The research aims to explain new major internet applications that are beginning to penetrate various sectors and take a macroeconomic view, quantifying the value that they can create throughout the economy. The results may not appear all at once, as companies will have to undertake considerable investment in the near term, but the impact will accelerate over time, and by 2025, the contribution to annual GDP will be substantial. During 2013, the number of smart device users in China almost doubled from 380 million to 700 million. As you can see in the image, in the past, China's internet has been mostly consumer focused, but as the internet penetrates major sectors across the economy, this is changing. As companies embrace technology, their operations become more efficient, leading to profitable gains. The economy changes that have altered China during the Reformation era underlie the story of the ascent of new media. Factors like individual wealth, education, and urbanization have generated a need for the internet and social media. The internet will not only be a source of much needed momentum for China in the years ahead, but it will also change the very nature of growth. The heavy capital investment and labour force expansion that fueled China's rise over the past 2 decades could not be sustained indefinitely. The internet, by contrast, can enable GDP growth that is based on productivity, innovation, and consumption. It also intensifies competition. It can spur skill upgrades within the workforce and create customer surplus by lowering prices, making information more widely available and enabling a multitude of new conveniences. The economy's shift towards the internet will entail some risks and disruptions, but it can ultimately support China's goal of creating a more sustainable model for economic growth. The internet is beginning to have an impact on all areas of the Chinese economy. E-tailing has changed the way retailers connect with customers. Media companies are delivering news and entertainment via digital platforms, and Chinese students are beginning to use digital learning tools. To assess how the internet could affect the overall economy, we can look at these 6 sectors for detailed analysis: consumer electronics, automotives, chemicals, financial services, real estate, and healthcare. This list represents a mix of corporate and semi-public sector of both industry and services, as well as discrete and process manufacturing analysis that show that internet adoption could potentially enable 6 to 20% of the total increase in GDP expected in these sectors between 2013 and 2025. This could contribute to adding 0.3 to 0.9% points to annual GDP growth, and about 1/3 of this impact comes from the creation of entirely new markets, while the rest comes from productivity gains in the existing value chain activities. Within the sectors we analysed, the internet's largest potential for creating values is concentrated in 4 main areas. Number 1, reduced transaction costs. The internet allows companies, consumers, researchers, and the public sector to communicate and collaborate instantly. It facilitates productivity gains from e-commerce to crowdsurfing to the internet-enabled supply chain management. It also allows manufacturers to connect directly with consumers, cutting out the middleman. 2. Use of big data analytics. Machines and people alike generate vast streams of data, and new tools equipped companies with the ability to gather and analyse this information to enhance decisions and gain market insights at negligible additional costs. For instance, big data can enable accurate and cheap analysis of credit risk of lending to a small business or individuals. It also allows e-tailers to deliver personalised recommendations to consumers based on their past purchases. 3. The ability to meet long-tail demands. The internet's reach and its ability to automate transactions makes it much more cost-effective for businesses to fulfill demands for a more diverse range or niche customised products. And lastly, introduction of new competition. The internet drastically lowers barriers to enter, making it possible for new businesses to launch quickly, scale up, and compete. It gives entrepreneurs access to low-cost resources from cloud computing to payment systems. However, even as it lowers barriers to enter for small enterprises, it can also give rise to winner-takes-all dynamics. Some markets may become bifurcated, with many small players but only a few very dominant names at the top. Competitive intensity may render some business models obsolete and weed out companies that do not adapt quickly. On top of the GDP impact, the internet creates a wider economic and societal benefits. It enhances transparency, competition, and efficiency that can lower prices and improve the quality of a product. To finish my presentation, I'll be looking at some arguments and limitations of this paper. While internet growth has been rapid in China, it is unevenly distributed both geographically and by age range. As of December 2009, roughly 72% of internet users were connected in urban areas. Aside from geographic disparities, the majority, about 62% of China's internet users are under the age of 30. This means that a large amount of older people or those living rurally are not connected to the internet. While this report primarily looks at an increase in GDP, it also looks at e-tailing and online services for the population. One limitation of this paper is that it does not consider the amount of the population that are not connected to the internet. Ownership and control of the internet by both companies and countries is becoming an increasingly politicized issue as the internet becomes more integrated into our day-to-day lives. Instead of supporting technical innovations and developments of the internet, nations are increasingly focused on controlling the flow of online content and exploiting the internet as a means of gauging public sentiment and opinion rather than a channel to help shape public policy. This can hugely slow down the internet's economic potential and the generation of a greater GDP. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye!